I am taking you through the next steps. And as said, I'm Laura and I'm the Education Officer for the South of Ireland. So number one, you've taken it by being here today. So by representing your school and participating as senior management. Number two, meet with the teacher or committee who are leading on GCE in your school. So for example, regarding plans for the year, but also if you'd like to help initiate ways to help support GCE further as well. For example, then, number three, facilitate your teachers attending Worldwide Global Schools events and training. So as we mentioned, as Ashley mentioned at the beginning, this could be as a contribution to Croke Park hours, for example. And we also cover substitution for our online teacher trainings as well at €40 per hour. Number four, plan for whole staff training on GCE. So for example, we have our whole school inputs, which such as Croke Park hours. We can also do planning workshops with your GCE committee, and we can also look at subjects simultaneously as well. Number five, so if your school is applying for the Global Passport Award, registrations are open now, which all you teachers would be aware of, and the deadline for submission is February 28, 2022. So you can help the teacher to gather information and strengthen Stamp 5, which is actually on school leadership and policy. Number six then, so if Worldwide Global Schools are in your school, we would love to meet you in person as well and support your GCE programme. We're here to support the teachers, but also senior management. So we definitely love to meet you. And then finally, number seven, to continue your own learning. So critically engaging in new and different perspectives is a core part of GCE. We ourselves as education officers are always learning. So it's something we want to help encourage and foster in GCE ethos in schools as well. So regarding that, then the next slide shows our website, particularly our school zone, which is an absolute fountain of information and that our teachers always utilize as well. So I'd like to particularly draw your attention to our training and events section. That's where you'll find past CPD recordings as well as our upcoming training and events as well. And then the next slide shows our resources, which Ashley mentioned earlier as well as our Global Citizenship Education Teacher Guidebook as well. So our lead teachers would have been sent this year. Everything here is available to download on the website, but we can also send these out to you as well. And our teacher guidebook is an absolute go-to regarding our framework for implementing quality GCE. So we always recommend our teachers to use that as a reference point as well. The next slide then, so on our school zone section of the website, as I say, we have our upcoming training and events, and these are some examples of what are coming up. So we have various CPDs, but I'd also like to draw your attention to the National Teacher Conference, for example, on January 27th, and our annual student conference on April 7th, and the theme for that is degrowth. So it would be fantastic as senior management to encourage participation and attendance at these events. And then before I pass you on to Aisling for our closing remarks, Lizzie is going to be putting a link in the chat for our evaluation form. It'll be emailed to you afterwards as well. Our work is very much built and led by feedback from our schools. So while everything is still fresh in your head, we'd really, really appreciate if you took the time to fill out our evaluation form after the session. So with that, thanks a million, and I'll now pass you over to Aisling.
Thank you, Laura. So this brings us to the end of our symposium, and I just have some very brief closing remarks. And thank you for the contributions to the chat. I know there is still conversations ongoing around how we can facilitate schools to do this even more and do it in a systematic way, recognising how busy the school ecosystem is. So thank you, I know, for the recent contributions in the chat. And I can assure you this is something that we are working on your behalf to try and make sure that we can integrate this as seamlessly as possible into your school communities. And that's something we will consistently work with, and in particular with our own Department of Foreign Affairs, to look at what supports, but equally our colleagues in the Department of Education, who I know are joining us here today, and that we will continue those conversations on your behalf to really ensure that we can do this in the most seamless and practical and effective way as possible, take into consideration how busy schools are. So really, I just want to say a huge thank you so much. Laura mentioned there, one of the next steps is a step you've already embarked on and already taken, which is actually being here today to demonstrate your commitment or your interest or curiosity around global citizenship education. But hopefully what you have taken away today, after having the time and space to reflect on global citizenship education, is what practical next steps you can actually take, but to hear also what is possible and to hear what other schools have actually done. And I earlier on, we shared some questions for reflection, and I just want to remind you of those as takeaways. One of the questions that I'd ask you to maybe think about is, how can global citizenship education foster the vision and ethos of your school? So hopefully you've been able to think about that, and really how closely, hopefully, global citizenship education aligns to your school's own vision and mission and ethos in your school culture, or the culture that you are hoping to, to create in your school. We also asked you to reflect on, is your school enabling global citizens and agents for change? Is this something that we're facilitating our students to do? And I could hear definitely from the contributions already, there's fantastic recognition of where we can do this in schools, whether that's through the student council, like was mentioned previously, but really looking at what you're already doing to enable and maybe what you can do more of. We also asked you to reflect on the conditions that are needed for global citizenship education to be successfully implemented. And while we recognise there's more that we can do to make sure this can be as seamless for schools, but hopefully today you've heard a little bit more around the kinds of conditions or infrastructure that can be built in a school to allow this to be something that's really sustainable and accessible. And hopefully you have taken away new opportunities that you have been able to explore or consider that can be implemented in your own schools. But most importantly, hopefully today provided you with the space to really think about how valuable global citizenship education is for our own schools. And you had that opportunity early to reflect on maybe why it's important to you, but also why it's important to your whole school community, that this is something that we do to try to educate the heart, the hands, and the heart, the head, and the hands for the students that we're working with, and how we can really try to cultivate a commitment to global citizenship education. So really just again to say a huge thank you to all of you, and to indeed pass on your thanks to all of your colleagues and school communities who are working also to really to deepen your school's engagement with global citizenship education. I also want to thank again the commitment that Irish Aid are making, and indeed the work that the Department of Education are doing to really further this in terms of making it more sustainable and embedding it further within our schools, but also making it accessible, most importantly. So a huge thank you to Irish Aid for continuing to fund and invest this work, but also our colleagues in the various patron bodies, the NCCA, the JMB, the NAPD, and all of the various stakeholders that we work with in actually furthering the message and the mission of Worldwise Global Schools. And last but not least, a huge thank you to the Worldwise team for all of the work that they do and in putting today together, but all of the supports that they're offering to your schools. And a reminder for you to avail of those supports. We mentioned earlier, whether it's support with your school grant, whether it's furthering the capacity building of your staff, be it in school or online, please do get in touch and avail of those supports. So I won't hold you much longer, but really I hope today is the start of the conversation, and I know it's the start of the journey for many of you, and to hopefully it's put it back on your radar, even though I know it's there already, but to hopefully kind of re-enthuse you in terms of global citizenship education. And please do keep in touch, and if there's any questions or suggestions or any further supports, you know that you can reach out to your assigned education officer or any member of the Worldwise Global Schools team. So just to thank you again, and we will be following up with you. If you haven't had time to do the evaluation, we'll resend the link, indeed to the recording, the presentation, and any notes as part of the follow-up. So you will get those in the coming days. So a huge thank you again, and hopefully we will be in touch and we will see you very soon. So thank you again for your contributions, and have a good day.
Thank you, Aisling.
Thanks everyone. Take care.
I know.
Thanks, Aisling.